Hey, welcome everyone to the Miracles Happen Fertility Podcast. This is the very first video recording for the podcast. So I'm excited to invite, is it Zahra? I didn't ask how to pronounce your name.
Yeah,
Zahra, welcome Zahra.
what?
Yeah, just a brief little intro on Zahra. She is the yoga goddess. She created the first online fertility yoga and meditation program. Hello, super important for fertility, which is practiced by women in over 25 countries. What? We're going to get into more details about Zahra, and she's also a registered psychotherapist and women's reproductive health and fertility coach, helping women address the often left out psychological and emotional aspects of infertility. Very much often left out, although I think it might be getting better. So that's good. So welcome, Zahra. I'm so happy to have you, and thank you for willing to be a guinea pig for video.
Well, thank you for having me.
All right. So I would love to know first your story. Tell us about who you are and how you came to do the work that you're doing and specializing in fertility stuff, and have at it. Tell us about you.
Well, it was a long time ago. The story begins on the eve of the Santa Claus parade in Toronto. And a friend of mine invited me to see a yogi that does yoga and numerology. And so I was, intrigued and was happily, excited to go. And we didn't realize it was Santa Claus parade that day. So parking was crazy and traffic was crazy. Anyway, through synchronicity, we ended up making it there on time. And when we sat down with this yogi, he said to me, "You are a teacher." And I said, "No, I work in marketing." And he said, he's like, "No, I'm telling you that you are a teacher." And I said, "Well, I really like doing yoga after work. And I was thinking about doing yoga teacher training." And he's like, "Zahra, you're in a yoga school talking to a yogi and you're asking me if you should do yoga teacher training. What do you think I will say?" And I was like, okay, clearly I'm not getting the message here. So that was way back in 2003. And I had never heard of, I had heard of Kundalini Yoga, but I certainly had never done it. So in my very first class, we start chanting a mantra and I was like, oh my God, what have I just signed up for? Like, I'm supposed to teach this stuff? I don't even know what it is. And he was right though. Clearly, something beyond me, something beyond my intellect could recognize the path. So that's how I became a Kundalini Yoga teacher. Later, I went back for further studies in women's health. So I, was thinking more along the lines of prenatal yoga, but when I discovered this incredible body of knowledge around women's menstrual cycles and the moon cycles, I was like, what? How is it that nobody knows about this stuff? And so that's where my passion just really ignited. And I found Dr. Christiane Northrup's book, Women's Body, Women's Wisdom, right? So that was like the first, the light bulb went off and I was like, really? So I started doing more research and I found Miranda Gray. And so she's been a longtime mentor of mine and a big inspiration behind the Moon Goddess Fertility Yoga and Meditation program that I designed specifically for women to reconnect to the power and the healing that's available to them in their menstrual cycles. And to take that, stress of ovulation, singular focus on ovulation, and then the disappointment of menstruation and really change that relationship that women often have, not just with the menstrual cycle, but with their wombs. Like if you've gone through miscarriage or years of fertility treatment or, embryo transfers that don't take, or so many different ways that we feel like our womb and our ovaries and our reproductive systems have failed us.
Countless.
Right? So to heal that connection, heart and womb, is really at the heart of what the Moon Goddess Yoga and Meditation program is about.
Oh, I love it. This is all like my language. My listeners / viewers now, they know that because there's a giant piece in yoga too, of the science part, right? That very left brain, 1 + 1 always equals 2, and then very spiritual, womb love stuff, right? Which is actually my next question. I was going to ask you about one of the things that you talk about in your work is spiritual balance along with reproductive health. Can you expand on that? Tell us more about that specifically.
Yeah, well, when it comes to feminine energy and spiritual balance, I really look at a woman's relationship with her menstrual cycle. And for women, we actually have this built-in mechanism of an in-breath and an out-breath through the metaphor. Well, it's actually the reality of the menstrual cycle. So in the follicular phase and the ovulatory phase of our menstrual cycle, it's like the in-breath. It's like daytime. It's like spring and summer. It's the part where we're getting ready. The buds are starting to, peek out, and then the flourishing and, blossoming of summertime. So we have that built-in sort of the budding and the blossoming and the creation part in our cycle through the pre-ovulation and ovulation phases. And then we have the exhale. We have the out-breath, which is the luteal phase and the menstrual phase. And it's like autumn and it's like winter, where the earth starts to darken and get quiet, and we go indoors and we go, underneath our covers, and we become more solitary, and it's like the dark of the night. So we have this natural in and out, in breath, out breath, right?
Like art. That feels like art to me just now. I love the way that you did that.
Thanks. Well, it's who we are in our essence, right? As feminine beings, we are darkness and light. We are yin and yang. And so when we are only in the go, do aspect of our feminine energy, we experience burnout. We experience a sense of depletion. We experience resentment and anger and frustration. Premenstrual time becomes like a hell time. Menstrual pain can become debilitating. There's so many ways that our cycle is constantly trying to guide us towards balance. And so when we listen, when we just simply follow the rhythm and let ourselves do the outward expansive piece of pre-ovulation and ovulation, but then do the retreat and rest and restore part of the luteal and menstrual phases, then we naturally return to balance.
Yeah, there's a lot about honoring our natural rhythms in here rather than forcing, which is inherent in fertility stuff, right? Fertility world. But okay. So when you talk about spiritual stuff, there's a lot of just like it's energy, all energy stuff.
Yeah.
That is very cool. I love that. And I find that when people begin to pay attention to those parts of them, that there's a slowing down inherent. And there's a lot of, right now, I think the culture, particularly Western culture, go, as you were saying, right? We're just moving, doing. And so I love that you help folks kind of slow down and pay attention. So, okay. Can you get specific about Kundalini Yoga? Because I've never practiced it myself, but I've heard how powerful it can be. And I'm wondering about the uniqueness of it and how it ties to women's reproductive health and spiritual balance and just the picture, the whole picture.
Sure. So it's true, Kundalini Yoga is a very powerful energy work kind of yoga. And the power of it is in that you're harnessing through breath work and through movement, because you combine the breath and the movement to really almost like kickstart the energy that, I mean, all yoga is designed to wake up the energy at the base of your spine. Kundalini goes a little bit further in that it's about the metaphor of the, the dormant snake coiled at the base of your spine. And the idea is to awaken it and awaken consciousness. And then the whole idea around getting the Kundalini energy moving, like if you think about, if we're thinking about the base of our spine, right, the pelvic bowl, the reproductive organs are all housed down here. So the idea is to awaken the energy and move it through the chakras, the lower chakras, right? So from a kind of a yoga energy perspective, we're very much working at the root and the sacral, it's called the lower triangle. So the navel, the sacral, and the root chakras, right? So energetically, you're kind of like waking up the energy that's required because it's related to the reproductive centers. Going further though, in the practice that I use in the Moon Goddess Yoga and Meditation program is specifically for the pituitary gland. And the pituitary gland is the master gland of the endocrine system and is essentially responsible like to send the signals to the ovaries of, when to ovulate, to the uterus of when to shed the lining, etc. So all the hormones related to reproduction stem from this connection of the hypothalamus pituitary ovarian axis. So in terms of the particular yoga practice that I've incorporated into the Moon Goddess yoga and meditation practice, specifically so we're not just working in the direct area of the reproductive organs, but we're also including the part of the brain that's the command central to actually give the, the command to release the right amount of hormones and hormonal balance. And hormonal balance is not just about reproductive health, as you know, but hormonal balance when it comes to managing stress is so important as well. So of course, all yoga and all meditation and almost basically all mind-body practices will reduce stress. And when we get our baseline level of stress down, for sure, we have a better chance for the reproductive system to get back in priority because it goes into the into no longer priority when we're in fight and flight mode. Reproduction kind of shuts, like the signal says, oh, it's not safe, we shouldn't get pregnant right now. So when we lower that defense system, sure, there's a natural way that reproduction becomes back into priority. But when we take it further and we're doing a practice that's specifically to regulate and promote hormones. So for example, a lot of my clients will report FSH going down. I've even had some clients report that AMH has increased. You increase blood flow and circulation to the ovaries and the uterus. That means when you do egg retrieval, if you're in an IVF cycle, you're more supple and it's easier to get those eggs out. You have less bleeding, you have less recovery time. For embryo transfer, again, we want that good lining and blood flow and circulation is really key. So there are like some general benefits, but there's also very specific benefits with the Kundalini Yoga that's targeting the pituitary gland. And also I like to talk about Mata Shakti, which is the mother energy of creation. And that's really what you're awakening is when you practice Kundalini Yoga. And so of course, don't we want the mother energy of creation, right? In our fertility journey. Yeah.
Yes. Give us some of that. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So beautiful. Is there anything that you could, the venue of like this video thing right now is hard to show any kind of like poses or anything, but is there any like breath work or anything that you could teach us right now that could be useful just to start like right now that people can do on their own?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so one of the breath meditations that is key for balancing the menstrual cycle, which I include in the program, and I'm happy to share with you. It's called the breath meditation for the menstrual cycle. So it uses a mudra. So you'll be pressing the index finger and the thumb, the middle finger and the thumb, the ring finger and the thumb, and the baby finger and the thumb. So we're going to be sequentially pressing each finger. And then there's a mantra. So with the index finger, the mantra is sa.
Sa.
Yeah. With the middle finger, the mantra is ta.
Ta.
Mm-hmm. With the ring finger, the mantra is na.
Na.
And then the baby finger is ma.
Ma.
Yeah. So
okay.
Sa, ta, na, ma. Let's try that together. Sa, ta, na, ma. Yeah. So sa, ta, na, ma actually means it's called a bij mantra, which basically means seed, and you're calling on the cycle of life. So sa is kind of like initiation or spark. Ta is life. Na is transition or rebirth, or transition, and ma is rebirth. So essentially we're talking about the same thing, the cycle of life, the menstrual cycle, like what is innate in feminine energy. So it's cool that this meditation is specifically for the menstrual cycle, and it actually has all these elements that, you know, are kind of like woven together. So
all of these.
Yeah. So you're just going to place your hands on your lap, and we're actually not going to say the mantra out loud, but you will be doing the finger movement. And you'll be saying it silently in your mind, but I'll cue that. And then the breath is one inhale broken up into 4 sniffs. So it looks like this. And then a full exhale. So let's try that together. Yeah, out of your nose. And then exhale. So try it again. And then exhale. So I'll just do it so you can see it. So basically I'm sniffing and pressing. And then exhale. So sa, ta, na, ma, exhale. So let's put our hands down. Just take a moment. Let's actually bring our hands to heart center and center ourselves in our hearts. Take a deep breath in and out. And then place your hands in a comfortable position. And we'll get ready to do the breath meditation to balance the menstrual cycle, starting with 4 sniffs and the mantra Sa Ta Nama. Let's begin. Sa Ta Na Ma. Exhale. One more time. And take a deep breath in and hold the breath. And exhale all the breath out till there's no breath left. And inhale again, deeper than before, and hold the breath. And exhale all the breath out. And one more time, inhale deeply and hold the breath. And exhale the breath out and hold the breath out. And then just take a few moments to yourself. And just noticing how it feels in your mind. If you can sense some stillness, some space, clarity. This meditation is also excellent to dispel negative thoughts and clears out negativity from your mind and from your aura, from your energy. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
I feel some heat in the second chakra area. And I could almost envision like a white light kind of coming through. I feel like people, especially this content is designed to be evergreen, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention that this is being recorded during this coronavirus craziness.
Wow.
And so this is so helpful, just even settling and offering some clarity. So thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. People are going to love it. Okay, so moving on from that loveliness to more loveliness. One of the things that comes up frequently in my work with people is this fear around approaching 40 and or being in one's 40s. And I'm wondering about that specific population and how you work with them, and if there's anything unique in your work with them, or if you can riff on that for a little bit, talk about that particular population.
Absolutely. So a lot of the women that work with me often have already gone through quite a lot and are often either already in their 40s or approaching 40. And a lot of times they're women who are really A-type in their personalities. They're really successful. They've achieved a lot. And there's a sense of, a really strong connection to their masculine energy, but not a really strong understanding or closeness with their femininity. And so a big part of my work is to help a woman who's really achieved a lot in her life through the masculine ways of striving and working hard and achievement and productivity, which are all wonderful accomplishments in one's life. And they often disconnect us from our sense of self, our sense of receptivity, allowing, opening, receiving, surrendering. You can see kind of my hands doing this motion, and there's a sense of like letting it in, as opposed to when we're working through the masculine, we're kind of doing more of this. Like we're
Yes.
yes. So we need to shift out of this grabbing, going, getting, forcing, trying, making things happen energy, and sort of moving back into receiving, allowing, settling, literally sitting back. And that's a big shift. And a lot of women, when they're able to make that shift, conception is a natural outcome of moving into our feminine energy. And if you just, like, I always use this sort of analogy, like if you think about it, you have to literally spread your legs to have sex. Right? So there's, right? Yeah. So there's a literal physical, we all understand that that's how it works. And so there's a way that if we can allow ourselves to soften some of that hardness, that the world hardens us, our lives harden us, society hardens us. The notion that softness and femininity are actually liabilities hardens us. And so we've had to show up in a masculine world thinking and behaving the way masculine energy dominates our kind of world of producing, and only what's valuable is what's counted in GDP. Like even from an economic perspective, we don't count if we are not producing. So it's kind of in our hardwired into our psyches. And women are often more adept at the masculine than even men are, I find. So we really have work to do in allowing ourselves to bring those defenses down and receive. And a lot of times, like whether you're in your 40s or approaching 40, I have, several clients who did many rounds of IVF and never got pregnant, and then got pregnant naturally in their 40s because they let go of all of the trying so hard, at least, from my perspective. So.
Yeah, and no, I think that it comes, we can talk about it in sort of this abstract way, non-concrete way, but when you begin to live from that space, things in your world change. You do become more receptive to receiving all kinds of things, and not just conception happens, but many things start coming your way because you're actually able to receive and accept what's coming your way. So people can see it concretely in their world too. And there's still that sort of, nah, that's coincidence. And I'm like, yeah, but is it? You're actually in more control than you think you are just by letting go.
Yeah.
Letting go.
Yeah.
So, okay. I'm completely in line with that most folks, especially from trying for a long period of time, there's this sense of, it's almost like the brink. Should I keep doing what I'm doing because it's not working? Or can I try something else? And, ooh, that's scary to let go and receive. Yet it might be worth it. So good. So, and I love this hand motion too. It's such a great visual, and it's wonderful for those listening to the podcast. I hope you can just hang out and look at the video for a few minutes to see this like energetic change. Oh, okay. Oh, we covered a lot in this introductory stuff. Is there anything else that you feel like could be useful for listeners today or watchers today?
Well, I believe that every woman who really desires to be a mother is meant to be a mother. I don't believe that there's some authoritative body, God or goddess, or someone that decides what's meant to be. We decide what is meant to be. And I truly believe that if motherhood is what you want in your life, you can and you should have it. And there's so many different paths to motherhood. So I really don't believe that we should be tightly holding on to one particular way to get there. So whether it's egg donation, whether it's embryo adoption or regular adoption, or whether it's conceiving naturally, or however you get there, I really feel like it's important to take out the shame. And there's so much shame around women's bodies as it is. You know, like we grow up in a culture of shame. Our periods are shameful. You know, our sexuality is shameful. Then when we're trying to get pregnant, it's a shame because we can't even get pregnant. Like there's so much. And then if you can't, you know, like if you have a baby and then there's something happens to that baby, again, you're bad. So there's all this idea that we're not good enough and are, you know, we're broken, or we're somehow just, you know, spoiled, you know, right? So there's so much healing to do with the feminine. And I truly believe that infertility is a wake-up call from the divine feminine for all of us to do our healing work. And whatever that means for you, when you heal your relationship with your female body and your femininity, whatever that is, you will find your way to motherhood, whatever that looks like for you.
Yeah. And this might sound kind of strange, but I even put folks who've put the end on any kind of fertility treatments or trying to procreate and decided to move on living child-free. There is so much maternal energy and creative energy to pursue even then. There's so much that can be created from there. It's the same energy. And so I honor all those paths, right? It's like, it's really important to be able to move through that shame, honor the shame too, and move past that in various ways. I'm sure Kundalini Yoga can be really helpful with moving that energy. So, oh, Zahra, thank you so much. This has been wonderful. That was a nice sigh because I can feel an energy shift even now in myself. I think people who are listening or watching are really going to feel that today. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's really a blessing and a pleasure to be here with your Miracles podcast.
Yes, and they do happen all the time. Hey, where can people find out more about you? And I do have a free gift that people can get. I'm going to link up to that in the show notes. But where can people find out more about you?
Sure. Well, I'm in Canada, so my website is yogagoddess.ca. And in terms of the free gift, what I go through, I've written an ebook and there's a video that goes with it. And what I talk about is, it's called Fertility Secrets of the Female Body. We are actually rewriting it to call it Infertility is the Wake-Up Call from the Divine Feminine. I truly believe that it is that. And what we do is take you through 5 steps, which is really about how do we, especially if you have a diagnosis of unexplained infertility, it can be really difficult to navigate that. Like, what do you do with that kind of diagnosis? So I take you through 5 steps that I believe will help you heal from a diagnosis of infertility or unexplained infertility. The first step is to make peace with our periods, looking at how we were initiated into menstruation, and what baggage we still are carrying from that. The second step is taking the focus off ovulation and menstruation as the only important parts of our cycle and really embracing the whole cycle. The third step is healing heartbreak and loss from years of trying or miscarriage or loss of children, however that happened for you. The fourth step is how to use Kundalini Yoga and meditation for your, not just for your fertility journey, but for your whole healing. And the last step is how to bring joy back into baby making, which is so important, right? Like, really want to make babies out of love, right?
Yes.
And it's 7 pages, so it's an easy read. And it comes with a video that explains my entire approach. And if you want to work with me or work with the Moon Goddess Fertility Yoga and Meditation program, which you get to do from the comfort of your own home, it's all explained through that.
Beautiful. Oh, what a lovely offering for folks. So many need it.
Thank
So
you.
thank you. Zahra, I appreciate you. Thanks so much for being here today.